Okay, so not that long ago, I guess it's like 2015, I got booked to work this guy, Tim Donst, at CZW, no less, right? Like my home promotion. And then here comes this Chikara guy, this wrestler, you know, he's like a big tough goon fucking guy, right? So we get scheduled to work, and I'm like, I'm not putting him over. I'm a former world champion. Fuck that. I don't want to work this dude. Fuck him. And they're like, nah, man, you got a job to him. We're pushing him towards this thing. And I'm like, man, fucking another guy I got to lay down, count lights for that can't fucking hold my jock. Jesus Christ. So I'm like, all right, what's his name again? All right. And what happened to him? I was like, okay, I'm going to punch this motherfucker in his good kidney. And then we had the match. I laid down. He went nowhere after that, but that's no fault of my own. That's the booking. We're going to blame the booking. Oh, hey, Tim.
I really like the fact that you got into podcasting because you're like, I need another form of media to get people to hate me as a person. You know, I couldn't do it through their DVDs, wrestling. I can't do it through Facebook. I need to reach a wider audience to get people to hate me.
I want people to hear my tone so they can really feel the sting.
I hope the last episode wasn't too. I hope it didn't come off as preachy or too negatively.
Not at all, dude. I think you have it in your head that by talking about things that happened to you that were negative, that you're being negative.
100%.
But nothing could be farther from the truth. You're just sharing. You know what I mean? Like the name of the show was almost Sharing with Sozio. What do you got?
Oh, can I let's see if you can make a special.
Who do you got?
Hold on, we're gonna. this is gonna be a breaking exclusive. But go ahead, keep talking about making me psychologically feel better.
No, I think the name of the show was almost Sharing with Sozio.
I like that name.
You know what I mean? But I went with Struggling with Sozio because I was trying to keep the SWS because I already designed a cool logo and all that shit.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. What are you doing? You talking to somebody?
Yeah, I got a phone call, dude. You got a special guest.
Well, how long does it take you to answer?
You see how cracked my phone is?
It looks like...
My phone's so cracked.
It looks like you're doing work on your phone.
Hello? Wait, say that again?
Your phone sucks.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear.
Hey, Gary, welcome to the podcast with Sozio.
Hey.
Hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Smart Mark Gary
of
Smart Mark Wrestling. This is a 2-guest episode. Is this your first time having 2 guests?
First time ever.
We got a caller.
Unit. We got
a caller. Gary, do you have a question for Sozio?
Yeah. Why would he be wasting his time talking with you?
Oh, Gary! Whoa,
come on, Gary.
How'd you have time to come up with such a witty quip? Shouldn't you be off haggling somebody? Is that a no?
Haggling on the road.
All right. Am I going to see you later?
Are you going to the thing?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the thing. But we're talking. I'm telling Sozio sad stories about my life first.
What's this kayfabe shit? What do you got? Guys got some Epstein shit going on?
It's fucking dark.
You guys are like, oh, I'm going to go to the thing later.
He's going to some Lancaster food festival, so I told him I'd hang out with him. Right, Gary?
It's wine. It's a wine festival.
Well, you know me. I don't like to drink.
Yeah, okay.
Whoa, straight shooting, Gary. All right, Gary, is there anything you need to plug on the podcast before I let you go?
I'd like to know why you like making out with 70-year-old ladies.
Making out with 70-year-old ladies? I thought your mom was 65, Gary.
Fucking lying bitch.
All right, Gary, I'll see you later. Bye. Sorry about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary from Smart Mark, a.k.a. G Unit.
This is the first episode with 2 guests.
First time ever we had a call in.
I'm the first 2-parter. First 2 guests.
Call in.
CZW is the 2-second man. Look at that.
How about it? Oh, yeah, that's right. That was your shtick for a second.
Yeah.
Who did you beat in 2 seconds?
Tony Depp.
That's right.
Good dude.
That's
all because I thought it'd be funny to say that I finished in 2 seconds.
And how in what means did you beat him?
I beat him up before the bell.
Right.
Threw him in the ring, and then he tapped in 2 seconds.
Okay. I was like, you have to count to 3. So how do you? Right. So you beat him in 2. I got you. Understood.
At one point in time, though, it was pitched to me that somebody else would have beaten that record by pinning me, which correct. Yep. You're wondering, like, how do you count for like?
Yeah, unless you have a screw job. Unless you have a screw job
does that
finish.
Really count? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that had to be DJ's concept.
I'm not gonna confirm or deny.
Come on, you ain't trying to work there anymore. You ain't trying to work there anymore. You don't have anything to fucking worry about. You're gonna lose no bookings.
So we're gonna talk about more sad stuff, or what?
Yeah, I want to hear how your life could be crazier and or worse than almost passing from cancer.
So I hit the ground hard with wrestling, all that stuff. So I've always had a very weird relationship with my father. He was an awesome dad up until I was like 20 years old. He was like my Boy Scout.
Your parents were together your whole life, or no?
No. So my parents divorced when I was probably about 12.
Okay.
My father didn't take it too well. My mother essentially, by all accounts, like left my father for a high school sweetheart. Right?
Oh wow. Okay.
So, by all accounts, like, I would assume that that's like pretty bad and wrong or whatever. But like, I have no memories of my parents like sleeping in the same bed.
Wow.
In the same room. I have no memories of them like holding hands. My father like doing any of that.
Yeah.
So, and my stepdad fucking rules. Super sweet guy. Loves my mom dearly. Writes love notes to her.
Yeah.
Opens a car door for her. Gives her breakfast in bed. So
wow.
like, I couldn't be more happy that my mom and him are together.
Sure.
But at the time, like, I didn't understand it. So like, I didn't talk to my mom for like a year. Because my dad was kind of like pushing this.
So when they split, you lived with him?
Yeah, like
right
I didn't talk to my mom
like right
for a
off
year.
the bat, right? You felt like she caused it more or less.
Correct, and
right.
and again, like I don't blame her by how toxic my father was.
Right.
But when you're a kid, you don't really see anybody but your superhero. You know.
You don't understand these concepts yet.
Yeah, and like my dad would like, this is gonna be dark. So like. My dad would like sit me down and make me read like email exchanges between the two of them, and like which
at a young age when it was all happening.
Yeah,
like 12, 13.
And like it wasn't anything like insanely raunchy, but like when you're reading like I love yous from your mother to somebody else, like that really fucks with a kid's head.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're trying to get them to grasp what's going on. Like they don't need all the details. You know what I mean? Like, you could just say that your mom and this other person were emailing each other love notes.
I don't even know if you'd have to say that. Like,
if you need to say it at all. You know what I mean?
I think my dad felt rejected. My dad's a pretty loyal person. Like, for the most part, in a good way, right? Like,
right.
Loyal to family, friends, stuff like that. So I felt like my mother was very disloyal to him during this. So like he extracted essentially revenge by turning me against her, and I don't really talk about this ever. So like I feel weird for like airing publicly like laundry, and make no mistake about it, I'm like I love my mom dearly, and I'm happy that she did what she did, and I'm happy that she's with my stepdad.
Well, like I said,
everybody
man,
loves him.
Like I said, man, this is talk therapy, man. Like this is for you and for anyone. You know what I mean? Don't feel like any type of way about it. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that. I went through this moment in my life where I didn't talk to my mom. Then me and my mom rekindled, talked to each other. My dad would always like badmouth her. He married once in between then, but ended up breaking up with his second marriage. So again, up until I was 20, my dad was a great dad in this, other than weird ass moments like that.
Yeah, other than like having his own issues.
Again, with her. Like how many dads would let their kids follow their dreams at 16 and pro wrestle, right?
Sure.
When I did theater in high school, they almost wanted to kick me off the wrestling team because I'd have to miss a few practices, and I was captain at the time.
Oh, right.
And my dad was like, "Fuck that! You do whatever you want to do." Like, and my dad was a wrestler in high school. He pushed me to do wrestling. So for him to say like, "You do whatever the hell you want," and then that being I could do both, like that's like some cool stuff.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, great father until I was 20, generally. And then the other really big thing that happened, so when I lived with him, is when I got diagnosed with the cancer.
Oh, okay.
I lived downtown. I'd moved in with him and ended up staying with him for a few years because he became like a pretty hardcore like alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
And there was times when he'd like fall asleep like with a cigarette in his mouth and shit like that. And, like he crashed his car the one time but blamed it on ice. He almost like fucking like burnt the place down with his cigarette.
Sure, yeah.
All this hardcore shit. So like it became routine for me from like the age of like 22 when I moved back home to like make sure my dad's like still breathing.
Yeah.
Like, and he's not like, I never saw him throw up because I imagine his body got so used to large amounts of vodka.
Yeah.
But so like I became used to going upstairs to making sure he wasn't dead. And I think that's another thing that always put a strain on that girl I mentioned to you previously about, because she couldn't really relate to this type of shit. And like, who can? Like, you don't tell your friends, like, it's not fucking cool to do this.
Unless that comes up for whatever reason, you don't.
And even then, I'm so afraid of people thinking I'm negative or wanting sympathy.
Right.
I don't talk about it.
Understood.
So this is very bizarre to me, broadcasting it to you.
Yeah. I got you.
So when the cancer happened, I didn't feel comfortable with my mother and father being in the same room because of how often my dad would badmouth my mother. Like, it made me extremely uncomfortable.
Right. So even coming to visit you, that you didn't want them together. Like,
correct.
Right.
So prior to my surgery, I have to get all this blood work done in case something goes wrong, all these tests, scans, whatever. My mother had driven up from Cincinnati to support me during the surgery and offered to take me to a few of them because she had nothing else going on and I'm her son and she loves me. My father like flipped the fuck out on the idea that my mother would like take me anywhere. And he essentially was like, why don't you have her take it to all the things then? And blah, blah, blah. Like, it sucked because it like became all about him.
Right.
And then, when I got the surgery done, I asked my dad when he wanted to visit me because I wanted my mom to work around when he wanted to come.
Right.
But he refused to tell me and just told me here he's going to come whenever he wants to come. Now, remind you, like, I'm not telling him, hey, mom's going to come at this time and you have to come. Like,
you're not divulging the plan and why you're asking.
I'm not making him accommodate my mother.
Right.
I'm making my mother accommodate him.
Right. You're like, I want to know when you're coming so I could tell her to work around you.
And he refused. So like at this point in time, during the darkest day of my life, like,
mind you, this is 14 years after they haven't been together.
Correct.
Right. So like, get over it.
100%. You have no excuse.
Yeah. Like,
by that point in time, like for you to hate somebody that much,
understood.
like it's on you. And then meanwhile, I'm supposed to be worrying about whether or not I'm going to live or not, but I have to be worried about.
Yeah, you're juggling this bullshit.
Like I shouldn't have to worry about this.
This is hands down the heaviest shit you've ever had to deal with, and now you got to juggle this bullshit
for no reason.
Immaturity, really.
For no reason,
right?
Yeah. And it's always been tough because like my dad like had a really tough life growing up. Like I don't even know the names of my biological like grandparents.
Wow.
So my dad has like 7 siblings. One of them's in jail. I'm not sure why. He was adopted by a family in Lancaster, which is how I got to be so familiar with this area.
Sure.
When he was like 12 to 14, I believe.
Yeah.
Because he was part of the Fresh Air program. So like inner city kids would come over here. That's how I met the Harrys. And that's how once the family was adopted out, he eventually moved in with them.
Okay.
In the meantime, though, like my dad and some of his siblings went to homes where they would put chains on the refrigerators because people want to adopt kids for like paychecks from the government essentially.
Wow.
And to save money by not having to waste a bunch on food, they would ration out the food and like lock these refrigerators.
Wow.
So it's like some really dark shit.
Absolutely.
And I know the reason why I don't know a lot is because whatever happened is so dark that even at family reunions, like the only reason I know what I know now is because when I was younger and we used to have family reunions, this cousin would talk to this cousin. I would talk to this person. We start slowly piecing together
Sure.
this puzzle of events.
Wow.
Because their life must have been so traumatic, so tragic, and almost like how I don't like sharing shit.
Yeah.
It must be in my genes because they don't like to either.
Yeah. I do believe that things like that get inherited.
Yeah, it must be.
I do believe that.
So, like, I do know that my biological grandfather was a hardcore alcoholic, and some of the kids would have to go get him from bars, which embarrassed him.
So this is your dad's dad?
Yeah, and he'd beat the shit out of them.
Oh, wow.
So,
fuck.
Like that type of shit.
Right.
And my dad was also. I don't mean to rant about my father.
No,
but before I
it's
go
fine.
into this story, I think it's important to characterize.
No, 100%. 100%.
Highs and lows. So I think it's important that people understand. Like on one hand, he came from a terrible hand. Mm-hmm. So from the get go, anything I'm about to proceed going forward, hope people understand.
Yeah, or at least take it into account. Into account.
And on top of all that stuff, my dad was the type of guy, again, previously to me being like 20, who would help the old lady mow her lawn.
Right.
Who would do all this stuff for the community, like just to do it. Who would help out the school teacher. Who would do whatever he has to do. My grandparents helped out, my adopted grandparents, if you will, the people that adopted my father, helped out the rest of that family a lot financially.
Sure.
Like helped with colleges, helped buying first homes. They've done very well financially.
Sure.
My dad refused that.
Oh, okay.
Because he was so thankful that they adopted him.
Right.
He didn't take the house.
Like, I don't need any more
college.
help. Right.
Correct. Which, fuck, like, I don't know a lot of people that would fucking do that.
No, right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you need it.
You know what I mean?
Especially if you could use it or need it.
And he 100% could.
Right.
But that's the type, like, that's a genetic type of noble personality that a lot of people don't have. Mm-hmm. So there is that portion of my father in him somewhere. So anyway, my dad became like a hardcore alcoholic. I'd have to check on him. I eventually like moved out just because I couldn't like emotionally like take it anymore. So he routinely gotten like I was just waiting. I would text him once every week or so.
Right.
To make sure he's still alive, or I'd come visit him because like my cat was there at the time. I don't my cat like starving to death.
Right.
He had guns in the house. So like when I lived there, like I would lock the door, just not that he'd ever like be violent with me or like things, just like I didn't know what fucking like frame of mind he was gonna be.
Sure, right.
I was always prepared to come home and find him dead.
Yeah, man, that's a fucking weird place to be too, I'm sure.
Totally. And you know, whenever I would confront him about the stuff like visiting the hospital and stuff like that, he's very good at changing the subject.
Yeah.
You know, because you're so perfect, right? And then go into tangents about myself, which by all accounts I'm not by any means, but just king of diverging stuff.
Yeah, deflect.
So eventually we got my dad to go to rehab, which he stayed clean for a little bit, got out, kept drinking again. There's some like other like he started hanging out with some pretty like weird dudes from Craigslist and shit like that.
Met them on Craigslist. And
yeah, like
weird,
really weird situations where like strangers were coming over to the house and like just like fucking weird, bizarre shit.
Yeah, that's not shit.
And at one point in time, this is years ago, probably like 7 years ago, I was getting like messages through Tim@Donst.com from like people who had been in my house and like just like really weird strangers, and I'd be like, why are you fucking messaging me? And then they would drop me.
And it was from Tim@Donst.com?
Or not, it was to me.
But
like these whatever.
Yeah, like I thought it was like they were
whatever shady, morbid, weird people my dad was interacting with.
Yeah,
went as far to contact this dude's son, and like it was
about what?
It was just it was really weird and embarrassing. Just about like drugs and booze and sex and like
asking for it, like trying to
exchanges.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
And like it was like why the fuck are you messaging me about? Like you have to be so out of your mind to contact somebody's son to do this type of stuff.
Right.
And man, like I don't know how to comprehend that now, let alone when I was like 7 years younger.
Yeah.
And
I would have been so confused.
dude. And then like one of the people went to the gym I worked at,
Oh,
but
gee.
never came in. But I had this fear of like, what the fuck am I going to do when this dude comes sees me? Is he going to tell people that this is the kind of shit my dad's doing? Like,
Right.
Like I don't want Tim Donst fans knowing this is where I come from.
Right.
Because it's embarrassing and it's weird. I don't want people to judge me. But that's so all this weird shit started happening where he resembled very much being bipolar. So then 3 years ago, I go to visit my dad to get something done, and he hugs me, and it's like really weird, and something's definitely off with him.
This is 3 years ago, you said?
Yeah. And something's like really off with him. He looks like he's tearing up. He says, "I love you," and I have no memory of my dad ever telling me he loves me.
Unreal. Yeah. I mean, it's just weird to hear that. Yeah, but I understand.
Yeah. So again, I want to apologize for being weird and negative and
You're
getting
good,
this shit
man.
out, man.
No, you're good.
Hopefully somebody finds this helpful or
Yeah.
whatever, because I've never talked about this publicly.
Also, too, keep in mind that, like, as much as you feel like you're either complaining, being negative, whatever, and what's important is that you're opening up and that you are exposing yourself and your audience and your fans to a new side of you that hopefully they will embrace you, Tim Donst, more. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's what podcasting has done for like a lot of comedians,
Sure.
and shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? You're giving your audience the opportunity to get more content about you. And if they're already interested, they'll be interested.
And it feels
You know
good
what
to
I mean?
talk about it, honestly.
Yeah.
So he hugs me, whatever. I'm convinced he's going to kill himself.
Something's wrong, obviously. You can tell
Convinced.
something's wrong.
So, again, I work at the gym 2 days a week. And I get a phone call from my uncle, who's been helping with my dad. He's been like the one relative who's been really good with trying to get my dad sober, coming up to visit him, talk with him, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, the rest of my family, like I had staged an intervention at one point in time,
Mm-hmm.
which worked for a second. But then, like, I don't know about you, but like if I went to an intervention for someone, like I would stay on the top of that person for a few months at least.
Yeah. I wouldn't pretend to be interested. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
if I hadn't seen them, I would go to their house and check on them. I would call them. If they didn't answer, I'd go to their knock on their door.
Right.
And this is all people that live locally.
Right.
So it started fracturing. This whole experience kind of fractured off me and part of my family
Mm-hmm.
because I was just like, man, you're supposed to be there for each other. Like
Mm-hmm.
if his son's coming to you guys who are supposed to be older and smarter and more mature than me for help, and you guys aren't doing more than I am, like I don't know what the fuck
Right.
to do.
Yeah, you lose hope a little bit.
So I get a call from my uncle. I usually don't have my phone on when I'm at the gym, whether it's working out or whatever, because I like to be
Sure.
or at work, which I was at the time, and get this frantic call from my uncle. I can't understand him. All I can mumble out is he's talking about my father. I assume my father's
Something.
come and tell he's dead.
Yeah.
He proceeds to tell me that my dad drove to Cincinnati, shot and killed my mother,
No.
and then he was about to. He was preparing to die in a police shootout. Yeah, like, fuck. Which like crumpled me, right?
And okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Luckily, my mom's okay now, so I won't make people wonder.
Yeah,
how that
please.
is.
I was like, don't leave me hanging here. Your mom is okay?
Yes.
Okay. What, did he shoot her?
He shot her 5 times. Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So
Okay.
like I get this like frantic phone call from my uncle telling me that my dad just called him. He had drove 9 hours to Cincinnati, shot and killed my mother, and had planned on dying in a police shootout.
Oh my God.
So dude, like I crumble in like physical pain on the ground. Like I mentioned before about like my kidney wanting to die.
Yeah,
My
this is worse.
body shut down. Like I had no idea that words could do this to you. Like just words. Like
Yes.
words
Yes.
made me feel the worst I've ever felt in my
Yes.
life. Like I literally crumbled down to the ground and folded my body in half. Like
Yes.
shaking, convulsing. Like
Yes.
I didn't know if it was real. Like I've never had that feeling before.
Wow, man.
So
I'm trying to physically put myself there, and I can't. You know what I mean?
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Like I
nor,
can't.
nor do
either,
I.
dude.
Nor do I fucking want to know. You know what I mean? I don't want to know, but I want to know. You know. Okay, so yeah, so you get that call. I guess you hang up and you're dealing with it. You're wrapping your head around it.
Yeah, like I fucking crawl, man, and I'm just like, what the fuck do I do? Like, do I go home? Do I go to my dad's house? Do I go to Cincinnati? I'm an only child. Like, what the fuck do I do? Like, I don't know what the process is of this shit. Like, do I attend my dad's funeral after he fucking took out my mother? Like, fucking, should I do anything for him? Like, I just had no idea how to comprehend that information, like what I'm supposed to do or like where I'm supposed to go. All I knew is like I needed to get out and go somewhere. So I immediately leave. I tell him there's a family emergency,
to say the least.
I get in my car, I start driving.
And you're where at this time? Here?
Yeah, I'm at the gym.
Lancaster?
Yeah, I'm in Lancaster.
Yeah.
And my dad also lived in Lancaster, but we weren't living together.
Right.
So my uncle had told me that he was trying to convince my dad to pull over. My uncle was going to drive from New York to Cincinnati, meet up, and they could go to the police station together. Things would be okay. My uncle's trying to convince this to my dad. My dad's being hysteric, right?
Of course.
So I call my stepdad, who proceeds to tell me that my mother is alive. And I don't believe him. Like, I fucking...
Yeah.
He's told me, like, he kept telling me 4 or 5 times. And, like, I barely remember this conversation,
right.
but he later told me it.
Yeah.
Because I was so emotionally, like, driven by it. Because I thought
Your ears were probably ringing.
Well, I thought he was lying to me because he didn't want me to get into an accident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought he thought he was afraid I was going to crash and die.
Right.
And
He just wanted you to slow down. Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have blamed him for.
Sure.
Because he's a great human being, and I'm glad he's with my mother. So he puts the Cincinnati Police Department want to talk to me, and he convinces me that my mom's going to be okay. They have her at the hospital. There's guards all around the hospital because my dad hadn't been apprehended by this point in time.
Right. Had not been.
Jesus so like.
Christ.
They told the media not to tell where my hospital my mother was going to. They even might have taken her to a different one just to make sure they didn't know where.
Right.
But they have guards everywhere.
Sure.
Shit like that, keeping an eye for them. So the Cincinnati Police Department's like, hey, we don't know where your father is. He's clearly not in the right state of mind. You need to come here because we don't know if he's going to come after you or not.
Yeah, right, and not that there would even be a fucking reason, but just, god damn it! Like I'm just trying to wrap my head around this as you say it, and I'm like, I can't fathom it. I can't fathom being in this predicament. I mean, I'm putting myself in your shoes and thinking like if my dad was doing this, and I'm like, I can't even fucking do it. But so you're there because they're worried about you.
Yeah, they're like, you need to get here now.
Right.
So. I'm driving down my street and I see a police officer in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have no idea exactly when the shooting happened.
Right.
And when the phone call happened. But also because of how fucked up my brain is right now, I can't compute time. So like Cincinnati is like 9 hours away, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the shooting happened an hour ago, and you told me, like, in my brain, somehow my dad's waiting on my street for me.
Right, yeah, he made it back.
Exactly. There's no rhyme or way he would have been able to do it.
Right.
But, like, in my brain, like, he's fucking here for me.
Right.
And he has a key to my place. So, like, I'm terrified that he's going to be here waiting for me. So I see a cop in front of me, thank God. Honk my horn. He pulls over, like, 2 blocks up. I go behind him. I'm really disheveled, obviously. And, like, I was with it enough to be like, hey, man, I know this sounds insane. My father just shot my mother in Cincinnati. You can call the Cincinnati Police Department. They'll confirm my story. Can you please wait outside my apartment while I get my things to go visit her? He's like,
yeah, or come with me.
He's like, I want him to come with me. Yeah,
come in with me.
He's like, whoa, slow down. What happened? I'm like, sir, like, I understand this sounds insane.
Yeah,
I acknowledge, like, I understand this comes off this way.
Yeah, I'm sure this is a different day for you.
And I gave a source for him to confirm this elaborate story.
Wow.
So once I told him that, he's like, his next question was, what drugs are you on? Are you on any medication?
Right.
And dude, like, I was just like, fuck you, dude. Like,
I understand why they ask that, because they want to make sure that for whatever fucking reason, you're not just telling some crazy story, some psychotic fucking story that, your meds made you say, or, you're a psychotic person and,
Sure.
Whatever. So I understand why he's asking that, but.
No, me too. I just wish that, like, I had the forefront to be like, I know this sounds ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I feel like that
right.
should have carried more weight. But regardless,
Right.
He refuses to walk me to my house and tells me that he'll wait 2 blocks up. I suppose why he fucks around.
Right, dude. It's like, what are you doing otherwise?
Dude, I love cops.
What are you doing
Dude,
otherwise?
cops have the
Me
worst.
too, man.
Cops have the worst job in the entire world.
Big
they can
time.
die any type of day.
Big
they don't
time.
get enough love. They're portrayed terribly in the media.
Mhm.
But like this, like really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, this doesn't help.
So like I'm walking down my street, looking in every alleyway, waiting for my dad to fucking take out my life. Because again, I have no idea whether he's here or not. So I go to my house. He's fucking not here. I race. I grab a bag. I fucking get through everything. Get all my stuff as often as I can. I go outside. I get in my car. As I do, I see 2 police officers at my front door. So I run back. I'm like, hey, I got my things. I'm leaving. He's like, and they proceed to sit me down. And I guess by this point in time, they had talked to my uncle or somebody, but now they're going to make me go to the police station to fill out a report because I had stopped them, which is utter bullshit.
So because you flagged down a cop,
Correct.
you have to file a report on what?
On what had transpired that day, on my father, give them information about my dad, all this like
Even
shit.
though they're not where it happened.
Even though they were of no help to me.
Even
2
though it's
minutes
not
ago.
the same state or borough or
Which, regardless,
nothing. Right.
in my mind,
they're
it's
not
like,
even the precinct handling the crime.
correct. And
Yeah, it's
regardless,
just weird,
in my mind, it's like, I want to go see my fucking mother who's just been shot, and you're fucking stopping me by making me fill out paperwork when you guys wouldn't even protect me?
Yeah, right. What the fuck is this paperwork for? For who? For fucking who?
I absolutely remember this cop asking me, does your father live here in Lancaster? In which I said yes.
Right.
So I go to the police station. My phone's even worse than this phone is.
Right.
So of course it doesn't work. Right? My phone's dead. So they proceed to like sit me down on this cold wooden bench. In the front where like front of the station.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like bawling my eyes out. I can't cry anymore. I'm on this cold bench. My phone's broken. I have no updates of whether or not my mom's still doing good. I don't know if my dad's been shot and killed by this point in time.
This is fucking bananas, by the way.
It's surreal.
This is bananas.
I feel weird about this story because I don't think about it enough because I don't want to be depressed
Sure.
by it.
You don't want to dwell.
Yeah, and I don't think about it too much because I want to be depressed. I probably don't think about it enough to put life in retrospective.
Understood.
So it's like this weird area in my brain where I almost separate and act like it doesn't happen, which also isn't very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So like people are just like walking past me to get busy paperwork done. Nobody's talking to me. I don't even have any water. No one offered me water. Like I'm just fucking out of my mind. I can't comprehend anything. I finally get called to this office. I give him my information. I tell him information of my dad's other ex-wife. I'm like, he might be coming after her too.
Yeah.
And I hear the policeman talking to the Cincinnati Police Department, and they're like, yeah, he lives. His father lives at, and proceeds to tell him my address, right?
Right.
And while he's on the phone, and he hangs up. I'm like, hey man, like my dad doesn't live at that address.
Oh, you gave him your address.
Yeah, and he's like, that's not what you told me at your house. Dude, I wanted to fucking, like, I'm a very tranquil human being, dude. I looked at that cop like I wanted to beat the fuck. I've never wanted to beat somebody up so badly in my life.
Wow, dude.
Like I was so intense with emotion at that point in time. And again, just like just like with the doctor, I was like, fucking, if you talk to me this way, motherfucker, how do you talk to the girl that's been raped? How do you talk to the mother that's had her son shot down the street?
Yeah, somebody lost a baby, whatever.
Like, you have the audacity to talk to me that way is one thing, but how fuck you, because I know you talk to this way to people a lot more, less mentally strong than me.
Yeah.
So that infuriated me. And I deliberately remember him asking me if I live here in Lancaster. Like, motherfucker, like, put yourself in my shoes.
And not just that, how do you think that acting that way in that moment helps? How do you think you're helping? Not even just to console you or whatever, just help get the task accomplished of communicating the accurate information to fucking Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all, asshole. You know what I mean? But yeah, then to give you grief about it, like, that's not what you told me. Fuck your mother. How about that?
Yeah.
Fuck your mom. How about that?
So eventually I'm like allowed to leave there. I have to go like buy a new phone because my phone's so disheveled by this point in time. So like that also adds another 45 minutes to this awful day.
Yeah.
So I drive to Cincinnati and I'm just like calling up people, having them sit down, telling them the news, calling people, having them sit down, telling them the news, like all my aunts.
Which is fucking exhausting.
My grandma was in the hospital at the time, and it was like late at night by this point in time. So I wanted to be the one to talk to her. One, because I was closest to the situation. Two, because I think her comprehension of it would make me feel better, like talking to her during that time. Because I couldn't make sense of it at all. And so we were going to wait till the next day to talk to my grandmother about it. So I drive to Cincinnati, talk to all these people. Everyone's crying. Everyone's this. Everyone's this. I'm like, fuck, dude. And like, I keep thinking, like, is this a dream? Like, is this real?
Well, I mean, as you're telling me this now, I'm thinking to myself, this has to be at least the second time for you personally where you're going, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just the cancer diagnosis, not just the thinking I'm going to be a statistic that cancer took out. But now you're dealing with this going, I can't believe I'm fucking dealing with this. Like, not only does this happen to such a small percentage of people, but I got struck by lightning fucking twice. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, what the fuck? And I'm giggling about it.
No, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm giggling in the sense that I don't believe it. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit.
No, so you're exactly right. Like, and again, this is in retrospective, but I've always felt like a I think at wrestling fans, now it's a lot more in, but typically wrestling fans tend to feel kind of like outsiders, I think, a lot of times.
Big time.
And then less, if you're crazy enough to want to do wrestling and take the pain and take the low pay and take the travel and the abuse and everything else, you have to be a little like outsider in your own right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take into account that I've survived cancer. I'm out of my social group even more now. And now like this shit, like there's no one who can relate to me on the entire fucking planet. Like there's people who have there's people who have had way worse than me. So I don't mean to like denounce what other terrible stuff people have, but it's just like fuck, like how I don't get shook like other people now. Like
how could you?
You know? No, like
how could you? You know, what I mean? It's like you're going in for a job interview. How could that even shake you up at all? You know what I mean?
No.
And I mean, like that's where I'm at with things like that too. Like it's no skin off my back. Like I'm just going in to talk to a person. But I mean, for somebody like you that's dealt with heavy fucking things like this, simple things that cause other people.
Well, even in relationships, like I can relate well to people, but sometimes I'm just like, is it really that big of a deal that you didn't get that job? Like, is it really that big of a deal that this movie sucked? Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah.
You're upset that the new Star Wars sucked? Like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah, they all do. What do you want?
So, so I get to Cincinnati. I see my mom. I'm fucking out of it. My mom's crying.
If you don't make mind me asking, like, where were all her injuries?
I know it was the hip, the shoulder, the back, and I think the leg, and I'm not sure where the other one was.
So he's a fucking terrible shot, is what you're saying on top of it.
To make it even more bizarre, he had brought multiple guns with him, but the bigger guns he couldn't load for some reason. They had malfunctioned, so he had to use a smaller caliber gun. So again,
good, I guess.
No, but that's another one of like,
those weird
That's another
things
like
that
God like
interventions, man,
if you had
divine intervention.
totally. And to tell you what a sweetheart of a mom like my mom is, like my mom was fucking walking her cat on a leash when it happened.
Unfucking believable.
Like that's the type of like doll my mom is. Like
yeah, right.
she's walking a cat on a leash. Everyone
And
loves my mother.
surprise, yeah.
Well, and the other weird thing is my mom used to keep the door unlocked all the time. So like by all accounts, my dad was probably going to go in and
Right.
shoot him, but
Right.
because it was public, people were able to help her. So like had my mom not been walking the cat, she'd probably be fucking dead right now.
Yeah, could have bled out anything. Yeah, right. You know,
Yeah, he could have gotten a better shot.
Yeah,
He could have
right,
surprised
right,
her.
Yeah, yeah. Anything. Jesus Christ. Wow.
All this shit. So were you gonna ask something? Sorry.
Oh no. I'm just thinking. No, yeah, I'm
What
processing
fucked
it all. No, I'm just thinking if I had any questions about the story.
Any relatable stories?
Yeah.
So, and oddly enough, the first.
I think you were saying you went to see her, and then I interrupted you to ask about where her injuries were.
Oh well.
Yeah, you said she was in good spirits.
Yeah, and the
when
type
you
of
went to
person
see
my
her.
mom is, like, not only was she walking her cat, but when they removed the bullets from her, she wanted to turn them into earrings. Like, that's the type of like artsy doll my mom is.
Yeah, what the fuck? I would want no keepsakes from this. You know what I mean?
My mom's the strong. Like, I know people love their mother. Like, my mom's like the most. Like, I don't deserve my mother. Like, she's put up with so much of my shit and my dreams and my aspirations. Like,
Sure.
she's the best. So I see my mom. I lose it. She loses it. She was fearing that I'd been killed already. When after she got shot, she was just concerned, like, is my son okay? Because if he did this, maybe he took out
you don't
my
know
son
what to
first.
Think. Yeah, you don't know what to think.
So they end up getting my dad at outside of a hotel or gas station. They just recognize him and they arrest him. I know somebody who knows someone on the police force who had to transport him, and they said that he kept crying and thanking God that my mother was still alive.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show like what kind of place you can get into to even bring yourself to do it, and then obviously come out of that place and realize what you did and wish you didn't.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like wherever the fuck he was to do that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
My uncle at this point in time had gone to the house to take care of my cat, to get things needed, whatever. And he had found my uncle's name is Bill. And so he found a letter on the fridge that was addressed Bill. I'd seen this letter for months. I assume it was either money that he owed my uncle because my uncle had to bail him out when he lost his jobs boozing and shit like that.
Sure.
Or it was bills he had to pay off and just kept on the fridge to remind himself.
Right.
So my uncle had the wherewithal to open up this envelope, and it was essentially a suicide note talking about, like, if you're reading this, that must mean I'm dead. I hope took other people out with me, and just, like, all this crazy shit.
Fuck.
And, like, thank God my mom's fucking okay. Like,
Yeah.
like once my dad decided to pull the trigger, the best scenario happened in the sense where my dad's in jail alive and my
Sure.
mother's alive.
Yeah.
So the situation completely is utterly atrocious and disgusting. But once he pulled the trigger, the best of both worlds happened.
Right, yeah. I mean, obviously, if we can rewind it all and not even get to that point, great. But since it did, everything is the best it could be considering.
Well, the thing that happened is, like, fuck, like, if my mother would have been killed that day, man, like, I would have beat my head against the wall for a million years had I not opened that letter. Sometimes I still do, because if I would have read that letter, I could have got an intervention with the police,
Sure,
with a psych ward, with somebody.
Anything. Prevented at least the pain and suffering that she went through.
Correct.
Yeah, you could have at least prevented
But, like,
that.
if my mom had been dead and I'd walked past that letter, like, that would have been, like, me optimally choosing for my mother's to death emotionally.
Sure. But it's not like anybody put that there and said, hey, pay attention to this either. It was kind of like an Easter egg, right? Like
Well, just in my brain, that's how I view it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Had you missed it and not been observant by chance being too into your own shit or whatever, you know what I mean? And, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But Jesus Christ, man. I had no idea that any of that happened. I mean, not that you shared it. Not
Sure.
that anybody would ever come up to me in the wrestling circuit and be like, hey, did you hear about Tim's personal life? Like, you know what I mean? Or any, for that matter, that many people even knew that this kind of shit happened to you. But I mean, I can tell you for sure, I'm relieved to hear that your mom's okay and she's doing all right. Certainly, I wish none of that happened. But when you first spit it out, I was like, his mom's dead? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't realize she was doing okay till you told me. But I'm relieved to hear, like you said, that things went the best they could considering. You know what I mean? Given all this nuts, crazy shit.
So I go to Ohio. They catch my dad. I stay in Ohio for like a week or something, and I can see the blood stains on the cement of my mother's blood. And I go out. The community there is really cool. I used to live in Cincinnati when I used to wrestle for HWA. I used to stop there all the time.
Right.
So like the whole community is really supportive, but at the same time, like I'm walking around or I'm going to a different part of this pub or whatever, and I hear people say, like, I heard this dude say, like, hey, did you hear that asshole shot that girl out here? And it's like, do I defend my father?
That has to send you through some sort of weird fucking emotional roller coaster because, like, obviously you're going to take it personally. You're going to take it personally. Regardless of how you feel about him or her, people are talking about you and your family. And to you, you're just like, this ain't none of your fucking business. So, regardless of what they're saying, you're taking it negatively.
It made me more sympathetic to like victims because it's like these branches you don't think about of how these things relate, and what you read isn't really what happened, and like
big time.
You don't understand.
I preach that all the time.
Like my dad is clearly mentally ill, right? He's bipolar. I'm pretty sure he's on some type of drugs as well as with these Craigslist things, by all accounts and evidence.
Sure.
All the shit. Obviously, he's trying to hide some kind of dark shit that happened in the past that I don't know about.
Or dark shit he's into, whatever, you know?
Well, yeah, but like troubled childhood, abused drugs and alcohol, hard drugs, and then add in the non-treated bipolar. I have utmost sympathy for his brain and his psyche.
Sure.
On the other hand, he also hated my mother with deliberate passion since I was 12 years old. The worst thing you could do to your son is to take out their fucking mother. That is the most selfish thing someone can do on the entire planet, is to fucking take out their mother. And I would think too, like, fuck, if cancer came back and I had to go to the hospital, if I was on my deathbed, you wanted to take out both my fucking support systems? Like,
it just kind of further lets you know how far gone somebody is to obviously they didn't consider that. You know what I mean? As much as you
or
think,
he didn't care.
Right. As much as you think that's something that somebody would consider, he didn't. And obviously never considered anybody but himself, really. You know what I mean?
Narcissist.
Yeah, and like I said, for somebody to hang on to the grudge as long as they did, it's like you're 32, you said now, and they broke up when you were 12, and this all happened roughly when you were
29, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, you got to let it go, man. Like, you don't think that obviously I hated with a passion my ex-girlfriends, you know what I mean? But I'm just past it now. Like, I don't give a fuck. My life is in a such better place. I use all of that stuff as learning experiences, and also reflect on a lot of that shit knowing that I'm to blame too. It's not like everybody always did something to me. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think too, in retrospect, there's moments where everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I remember I was like a real asshole for a year or two. Like I was really bitter. I was really sad. I was really depressed. Like I wasn't myself. Right. I wasn't friendly to be around. Like I don't blame people from pulling out of my. Like I think we all have these little moments where we reflect and we're like, maybe I wasn't as right as I was. Maybe society wasn't as mean as I thought it was, is my perception. And so, like, even to this day, like, I internally struggle with, like, how much sympathy I have towards my father and how much I fucking hate him, right?
Of course.
Because I have to balance this, like, how much of it is mentally ill-related and how much of it you just being an asshole.
Sure, and if I can relate this to something that's possibly not a good example, but, like, a lot of people hate Donald Trump, and I don't think he's a nice guy either. I think he's completely unlikable, but he's the president, and for that, he has my respect. Like, he's the leader of the country that I'm a part of, and therefore I stand with him. But I know he's a completely unlikable douchebag, shitty
So you're
businessman.
kind of torn between the two.
Yeah. So what I'm saying in your situation, you respect the entity of and the title that is your father, but you can obviously not deny or wipe away what he's put you through in your life and the horrible things that he's done, and you'll never not be able to judge him for that. But you respect the father figure. You know what I mean? So you don't know how to feel.
Yeah, it's like so somebody, I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but it was offered to me and I accepted. But again, only because my parents are so well liked, like my mom and stepfather, like the community loves them that they live in, right?
Right.
And by default, they all love me because they're like, "Oh shit, you're Christy's son." Like,
Sure.
so I was offered to see it, and I probably wish I wouldn't have seen it, but I didn't know what else to do. But I watched the footage of the shooting from the security camera.
Get the fuck out.
And so, like, that was obviously just as emotionally traumatizing as seeing the stain.
What prompted you to want to do that or see that? And how did you get it?
It was from the security footage.
Right, but I mean, who presented it to
I probably
you?
shouldn't say who gave it
Okay,
to me.
yeah.
I shouldn't have been able to see it.
Sure. Then don't get
But
anybody in trouble.
I was like, at the time, I was thankful that they showed me because I think I was just trying to understand exactly what unfolded.
yeah, and sometimes it's like you know it happened, but you still don't believe it, and you need to see it.
Yeah, and
It's like you know it happened.
you know, my uncle was telling me that he had talking to my dad or during the he didn't think that my father had attempted to kill my mother. As outlandish as that sounds, he thinks that my dad only wanted to hurt her or scare her, or like just try to come up with every excuse in the world to not think that my dad's a piece of shit, right?
Murderer, right?
Yeah. So I watched the footage. That was really startling. Like, he like drags her around and is like, that's why she had so many like shots at weird different places.
Mm-hmm.
And like my mom, like, after it happens, like, and all these people surround her, she's just concerned with getting her cat inside. Like, that's the type of, you can listen to the 911 call. I don't know if you want to add it to the end.
Yeah.
It's
if
you
you want to,
if you listen to it, you just be like, fuck, this woman's the fucking like I thought I was the tough one between us my entire life. Like, my mom is so tough in that 911 call. She's just
Moms
like,
are no joke.
no,
dude.
she's just like, it was my ex-husband. He's this old. He looks like this. He went down the highway this way. Meanwhile, she's bleeding in 5 spots.
Right,
and you can hear her say,
right.
like, can someone please get my cat inside? And just like, how's your brain reacting that way? It's almost like my brain reacting with like the kidney. Like, it's very oddly similar. When we're thinking about everything but the situation we're going through.
Well, I mean, obviously we're talking about it, but like if you've ever been in any other high pressure, high adrenaline emergency situations, like, you literally shut everything off. And I was going to say this earlier in reference to, like, from when you got diagnosed to when you went back through the curtain and sort of had your breakdown, you were off that whole time. You were sort of emotionally turned off. And by turned off, I just mean numbed completely.
Well, I didn't have an escapism anymore.
Right. So I just meant, like, as far as like your brain processing everything from possibly dying to the surgery to coming out of it, and then literally getting back to where you left off, and at even almost a better point than before you left off. I feel like it all came crashing down, and that's why you sort of broke down in that moment, because you literally turned your emotions off for so many months. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I wasn't supposed to be able to, but again, my everyone loves them so much. But I visited my father while I was there.
Okay.
So, like, have you ever been to a prison before?
I don't think so. I'm trying to think, and not really.
It's so beyond emotionally draining.
Yeah.
Like, you just like go to this fortress with like no windows.
Yeah, probably a zillion doors you got to get through.
Yep.
Like buzz doors.
Yeah, and like all these people like walk around and had been, I assume, visiting their family members for years. So I'm just like trying to figure out this system.
Yeah, you're the newbie. I'm the first timer.
Yeah, and like I assume the lady was very friendly with me because I assume she saw our last names and made the correlation that I was visiting my father, which probably
Sure.
doesn't happen that often.
Right.
So like I saw my dad. He came up. He like walked up the steps. Like we're behind the glass gimmick, and he's like super skinny, that jail thing, and I just fucking lose it. Right.
Sure.
Like, I will never forget the visual of seeing my father in like scrubs for the first time. Like this
Yeah, man.
dude that like who doesn't idolize their dad when they're a kid. You know, like I collegiately wrestled because I wanted to be more like my dad.
Sure, man.
Like all that stuff, and you know, I'm a pretty forgiving human being. I like to think I'm a good human being, and a large portion of that is because my father instilled those type of values in me.
Sure.
So I have to like thank him for making me who I am, while trying to keep everything else in perspective. And so like we did the whole glass to glass gimmick. I just like lost it. I didn't recognize him. Like he looked so skinny. He hadn't been eating. He's just boozing. He was like frail, broken old man. Like up until like 25, like my dad probably could have still beat the shit out of me. You know what I mean? If he wanted to. My dad's just like an old school.
Yeah,
like,
my dad's
tough
65.
fighter dude.
I don't like my chances now.
Yeah,
you know what I
and
mean?
like this is like the first time I saw my dad. I'm just like, he's so brittle and old and fragile and broken. And you know, when my mom saw him, my mom didn't recognize him.
Wow.
And he was coming to shoot her because of how aged he looked.
Sure.
From
Wow,
all the
that's fucking
abuse.
bananas.
So if you recall, we were waiting for me to tell my grandma about it.
Oh, right.
But of course, my grandma's watching the news, and bam, here's this news story.
Holy shit.
Them filming
What a way to find out.
Filming in front of my dad's house. And dude, so that's like another thing, like, fuck, like, at the gym, everybody knows, but they don't want to talk about it. Like,
Oh, right.
there's no one else in this area has my last name, right?
Sure.
And because I interact with quite a bit of people daily, like it just became this weird public thing that some people know, some people don't. If I somehow bring it up, it's passing.
They'll engage you, right?
Exactly. They know. I don't need to explain what transpired.
Sure, right. They don't need to be, what do you mean?
They don't know the details. They
Right,
don't know
right,
that
right.
he had drove 9 hours
Sure.
to do this horrible thing. But so my best friend when I finally got back home, my best friend in the world is this girl named Erin.
Okay.
Sweetest girl I know. Like she's one of 3 people I know that I've ever met in my life where you instantly like them.
Sure.
Like basically the opposite of you. So like, but like, you know, there's like those people in life where like you just like instantly connect. They instantly brighten up a room. Like
100%.
just fucking, it's great. She's one of those people. So I
Yeah.
come home. She's the only friend that has a key to my apartment. She had cleaned my pigsty of an apartment.
Wow.
She had meal prepped for me for a week.
Get
so I didn't have
out.
to worry about cooking.
What a sweetheart.
I get teary-eyed just thinking about it.
Shout out to Aaron.
Shout out to Aaron because like, man, like I'm a pretty thoughtful person. I like doing stuff for people. I wouldn't even computed having done that for somebody.
Right,
Like,
right. Wouldn't have crossed your fucking
no,
mind.
like, and this
Yeah.
is the nicest thing anyone will ever do to me. And I will always be indebted to her for like being so selfless during a time where I had to be so emotionally selfish. So the next step came to be like cleaning out my dad's place.
Sure. And if you don't mind me asking before we go any further, how is he in for the long haul?
11 years.
Okay.
So I'll occasionally get like letters from him. I've seen him one time since then. A lot of it is like explaining why he did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
His story changes a lot. I don't know if that's because he forgot what he wrote. I don't know if that's because he's bipolar and he's mentally ill. Part of me wonders, is he trying to emotionally make himself feel better about her? Like, I wasn't trying to kill her. Like, no one pulls a trigger 5 times and isn't trying to take somebody out. Like,
I don't know what the fuck you're thinking.
so part of me feels like he's just trying to rationalize. And that's something that like, I definitely 100% should have seen a psychiatrist for all this shit, because it's a lot of shit to carry in. But like, I have to figure out like, do I speak to this dude again? Like, do I let him in my life? Like, out of respect for him, I told him last time I saw him, like, because I appreciate him so much of what he did for me. Like, and again, he came from a fucking tough life. So,
Yeah.
like, he didn't have role model. He didn't have a blueprint on how to be a father.
Sure.
So by all accounts, he did pretty damn good because I turned out somewhat decent of a human being.
You're all right.
So I told him out of respect, I will tell my children how he was prior to the age of 20.
I think that's cool.
Like,
I think that's a good thing. Good way to look at it.
Like, I won't diverge into all this shit out of respect for what he's done for me.
Sure.
So it breaks my heart thinking that I don't want him thinking this will be his legacy. So in terms of like de-stressing the situation, I told him this won't be your legacy, essentially.
Sure.
And dude, the thing that like I fucking fought with, as you might imagine, like, so I get home, we start having to do his boxes and shit, right? Like I have to clean out an entire house.
Yeah.
Thank God my uncle helped out and stuff. So I reach out to all my family members, and there's probably like 6 in the area, like of uncles, aunts, and shit like that. And only my one aunt, other than my uncle, helps out.
Wow.
And it's
You would
just
think more people would want to just help you. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like I understand that like you feel some type of way about your brother or family member that did the bad things, and you don't want to help that person, but they're helping you. You know what I mean?
I mean, if
That's
they,
the way I look at it anyway.
I would assume that they would look at him as being mentally ill and like,
Sure.
that's not really him. Like, that's what my grandma said.
Sure.
It's like,
Sure.
he's clearly not right. That's not your father. You know he loves you, all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, like my one aunt had the audacity to tell me that I should ask my wrestling friends to help. And like, she lives fucking 20 minutes away from that house.
All right.
And so like, it's unfortunate, but like I kind of became a loner again because I just cut out 95% of people that I'm like related to out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I would do like Thanksgivings and Christmases with them, but like, hey, like let's not pretend you give a fuck about what happened this year. Let's not pretend you give a fuck about when my last show was. Because if you couldn't help me during the darkest time pick up a fucking box,
Yeah.
then like we shouldn't. Let's not pretend. Like I have friends that were willing to drive hours to stay with me a weekend so I don't fucking go into a dark place emotionally and mentally.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, take time off from their families just to make sure that I don't go into a dark place. And you can't come and mow a lawn. Like, I don't need that kind of in life. So it's a shame. But, like, once my dad pulled that trigger, like, I lost so much of the people in my life.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think how somebody else's actions that have really nothing to do with you can affect you in that way. You know what I mean? Like how you lost so much because he did something to somebody else. You know what I mean? It's just crazy to think of it that way.
Yeah, and
How much you lost.
So that was part of the reasons why like wrestling like took a back burner for the last 3 years. Like I would still do shows, I'd still wrestle. I think I still put on some good matches against Joey and some of these other people, but like just emotionally, like I just fucking wasn't with it. Even like I'm just coming out of the tailspin. I'd say like 2 months ago maybe is when I started finally feeling okay about it.
Firing up again a little bit.
Yeah, because like, dude, like nothing would rock me, and it terrified me.
Physically, you mean?
Mentally.
Oh.
Like
any news whatsoever.
Like if I found out I was gonna be homeless tomorrow, like I wouldn't give a fuck.
I gotta fucking pee again because I'm such a mark.
You got it, dude.
I mean, I can hear you if you want to talk.
That's all right. I hope people are engaged in this conversation.
I can't touch goddamn coffee. I hate your door.
I understand.
Your door's for gays.
What did you? I don't think you can say that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
You did say that. That's dude. That's terrible.
I mean, you could say shit like that. Still.
I don't think so.
I hope the microphone gets me peeing. That way.
That you want to hope that
listeners to know what kind of flow I have.
No, that's not true at all, dude. You need to learn how to work. You want to hope that they can't hear you pee because that means that your member is very long, and there's not much of a drippage. You know what I mean? If they can hear you pee, that means you have a small penis.
Well, I mean, anybody who's ever seen me in my gear knows that I'm not exactly a member of the blackout.
Jesus Christ!
What? They have big ones.
This podcast made a weird turn.
I know. I mean, we're trying to be all serious here, but I just want to emphasize that black guys have big ones.
Is that? I don't think that's. Is it? I don't. Is that considered racist for you to say that?
It's only racist if it's negative.
Okay.
I think if it's positive, I mean, you're virtue signaling.
I mean, it is a compliment. You're not dissing.
Yeah.
I kind of want to bring this microphone into the bathroom and get a Niles exclusive. Well,
And I wish there was a video element because I would just come out.
It'd be perfect. Now, I hope this story was enlightening and not too boring to your listeners or to you.
No. I think if anybody was bored by this story, then you're a fucking asshole. You're just a piece of shit.
But what I was gonna say is like, I hardcore struggled because like on one hand, like thinking about my dad dying alone in prison is like heartbreaking to me.
Of course, man,
like
of
I can't think of a
course.
worse way to fucking die, right?
In some ways, this is probably. It's weird to say too, but like in some ways, this is probably almost worse than if he just died some way. Like if he was.
I'd rather die than die in prison. 100%.
No. I mean like this is harder on you even than if he just passed in a car accident. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He hit a deer and
Yeah,
died.
that's
Like
a good
that
point.
would be
Sure.
fucking awful and miserable. But it might be easier than knowing all this transpired and now he could die in jail.
That's
or,
an excellent
you know-
point.
You know what I'm saying?
So on one hand, I don't want to think of him dying in prison, right? That's
Sure,
terrifying.
Sure.
On the other hand, if he gets out, my mom's always going to be terrified that he's going to do it again.
That's what I'm worried about.
Like I'm like fucked emotionally.
Sure.
Like, either way, like I am fucked. I'm so fucked by this because I don't have there's no escape plan. There's no way for me to be emotionally okay with the situation. It's not. I can't say, well, if he gets out, then things will be better. If things like nope. Either way, like fuck, dude. Like my brain's fried. My heart's fried.
I honestly wouldn't know what to think either. Like
While battling this whole, do you hate him or do you sympathize with him?
Right. But I just mean like I want to be hopeful. I want to be optimistic. But at the same time, you said 11 years, and I was like, that's not long enough. Like in my head, I'm like, that's not long enough. And not just that. What are you and your mother supposed to do once he's out? You're supposed to just sleep cozy at night, knowing that
Totally.
not knowing that like some horror movie axe murderer is coming after you. It's not Jason. It's just somebody with mental disability, or a mental disorder. We'll call it, or
well, and then I also
mental health.
I also
issue,
wonder
you know what I mean?
like,
But nevertheless, you need to fear it as though it's the boogeyman.
but
You
I
know what
also
mean?
wonder like if I don't reach out to my father when he gets out, isn't that going to give him more reason to go over the edge again?
Right.
Like, because now he has nothing to lose.
Fuck, man.
Like, so it's this weird gray area. Like, and I'll get weird like letters from him, essentially reprimanding me for not contacting him enough. And like, I kind of get it because he's lonely, but also emotionally,
Yeah.
I still don't know how to feel about this situation.
Right.
But what I was saying to you before you took that very long piss,
Yes.
is that like emotionally, the worst thing to come of this is like I couldn't be rocked.
Right.
Like, I started throwing up before every show, which fans didn't know, or after every show.
So it was before and after, or before or after?
Before or after.
Oh, okay.
I would start feeling like I would have to throw up. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, but immediately after I would.
Sure. And this is not an anxiety that just came from your performing, because
No,
you never,
I never
did it before. Right.
But one of the doctors at an AIW show made a correlation that suggested that because of when I fell down in pain from hearing, because originally, I thought my mother was dead and my dad was
Sure.
about to die. That's
Sure.
like the original thing I had to understand. And that was so painful for me that the only thing that simulates that type of adrenaline is when I perform to wrestle. So my body is going into this re-shock
Interesting.
every time I perform, where
Interesting.
I curl up and fall and like whatever.
Yeah, your body doesn't know the
It
difference.
totally makes sense to me. Once he
Yeah.
says like, fuck, that makes sense. But I went into this super dark place where nothing would rock my boat. So like, if I couldn't pay my apartment rent and became homeless, like I wouldn't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah, that's not a good place to be.
no, like
Yeah.
I just stopped giving a fuck about the world because
Sure.
like the baddest thing in the world happened to me.
Sure.
So nothing else. I didn't care if I performed bad on my job. I didn't care if I didn't have any friends. I didn't care about anything. And the best thing that happened to me is I dated a girl for about a year, and she's like really sweet and nice. And then everything was going good, and then I caught her cheating on me, right? And it ruled because it fucking like hurt me.
Oh, so you were like, oh, feelings.
100%,
Right,
dude.
right.
Like I was like,
Wow.
fuck, like I can be hurt again.
So yeah, you're it's just weird to hear somebody like be happy that their
Dude,
girlfriend was cheating on them.
I can't tell you like, I mean, it sucked, but like I can tell you in all honesty how enthusiastic I was to like feel again. Like I didn't know I could feel heartbreak. I didn't know I could feel sadness.
Wow.
Because I was like so numb to this situation for like so long.
That's wild.
I didn't know what it was like to be anything other than here. And around this time, I was so petrified of becoming like my father that I had gotten on antidepressant, like bipolar medication.
Sure.
Not because I necessarily had any of the symptoms, because I was so terrified of ending up like him. And it is a genetic disease.
Sure.
So I started taking these mood stabilizers. And have you ever taken one before?
No.
Like the one I was
like
on.
a Wellbutrin or something like that, or
yeah, and
sertraline.
I have a very weird situation, like correlation with all this, because I was close friends with Larry Sweeney from Chikara, and I loved him. He was like a big brother to me. I knew him when I was 16. He of course
was the best.
He of course suffered from bipolar medication. For people who don't know, he ended up hanging himself. Unfortunately, so I take all this shit like extra seriously between all this things. And so I started taking this medication, and that added to me not feeling anything. Like I almost quit wrestling because I wouldn't get a high from it anymore.
Right.
And like everything hurt a lot more because I wasn't getting adrenaline. And I didn't give a fuck if people cheered. I didn't give a fuck if people booed. Like I wasn't getting nervous before I stepped through the curtain. Like,
you know, it's funny because like I kind of observe these things about you and your character. Like, I mean the wrestling character,
sure.
not you, your person, or backstage, because you seem normal there. But like, I thought it was just the Tim Donst character was like this sort of, for lack of a comparison, we'll say like a raven.
There was a time I was
lackadaisical. I don't care about anything. Fuck the system. Fuck the man, kind of thing. That's kind of the vibe I was getting from Tim Donst, the character, in these my last couple of years wrestling,
absolutely.
up to 2016.
And I appreciate that compliment.
Yeah. I mean, so but knowing now what you're telling me, it wasn't completely an act.
Yeah,
it was
totally.
just you not caring to a degree.
Oddly enough, it started
but still
as
having killer matches.
Thank you.
I'm not just blowing smoke.
I
up your ass.
appreciate that.
Still killing it.
I could have done better, but mostly just like drained. And like it started off as an act and slowly turned into reality, right?
Yeah, and it was working for you.
Dude, and like again, like you're just like so it was so weird, like wanting to quit the thing you've loved since you were a kid because it did nothing for you. And then getting off of them was scary because one of the biggest things when you're bipolar, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is your brain tells you don't need me anymore. That's one of the things that happened to Sweeney, by understanding.
So he got off his meds and just thought he was all right, and he wasn't all right.
Correct. And by researching the subject like I did after my father, it sounds, and I'm not an expert in the subject, so I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn for anybody who's more knowledgeable than me. But it's my understanding that your brain wants to trick you into thinking, hey, you don't need these anymore. So getting off of them was scary too, because it's just like, fuck, like, am I going to go down this path?
That kind of stuff scares me. Anything with the brain scares me because, like you said, sometimes somebody else is piloting the ship. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's scary. And sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's drugs, sometimes it's a mental disorder, And it's just scary to me to think that I could ever do something because I was under an influence. You know what I mean? Because I was outside of my mind and then literally come to and be like, what happened here? And have done something horrible. So so I guess what I'm saying is I see what you mean. I can't imagine worrying about that is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it definitely puts things into perspective of like people typically aren't evil to be evil. There's some type of situation going on.
Yeah, they were either bred to be that way or something
and
is
then
really wrong, broken.
I like to like party, like I like to drink, like to have a good time. And this was all multiplied by the fact that I had survived cancer. So like I do everything like 200% now. Like
Sure.
I'm always in the moment. Like I'm not a dude that like checks their phone when I'm talking to people. Like I engage with them.
Oh, that's cool.
If I'm eating, I taste everything for what it is.
That's awesome.
If I'm watching a movie, I watch the fucking movie because I'm so in love with the moment. Because like once that happened to me, every day is kind of like an extra day. But it's like, and I don't mean this to be funny whatsoever, but like every day is the best day of my life. Like when I
Understood.
go out tonight,
That's
I'm gonna have
great,
the
man.
best day of my life. I'm gonna have the best day at this bar. I'm gonna have the best day at this friend's house.
And you
I'm
don't
enjoying
and you
every
don't
moment.
particularly let it get you down if it's not the best time. Yeah, because you're there and you got to be there.
Yes.
And that's awesome that you still hold on to that. And I mean, because I feel like some people can have that briefly and then lose it. You know what I mean? Over time. Like they'll have the near death thing. They'll have that little period where they appreciate everything, live life to the fullest, but then it kind of, they wean off of it and get back to, woe is me, I stubbed my toe. You know what I mean? And it's just awesome to hear that like you approach every day like that. And
Yeah, I appreciate
it. Can
it.
certainly be very inspirational.
And it started off not that way because, like, when my dad first went in, every 8 feet I would walk, I'd be like, this is further than my dad's walking today. Because he was in, like, suicide watch.
Fuck.
So, like, literally me walking from the couch to the bathroom, I'd be like, this is farther than he's allowed to go this day. Or, like, me walking to my kitchen and, like, he can't travel this far. Like,
Wow.
that's
Can't
fucking...
even travel that
dude, my
far.
brain would, like... I would literally think about that every 8 steps, like walking down my blocks
Fuck.
would like keep like appearing in my head over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like I always live by the moment. I always go crazy and hard and have a good time. And so like I struggled like, am I going to be an alcoholic? Like I'm going to be like my father? Like, cause that's fucking genetic too. Like that's in me somewhere too.
Sure.
So like,
Just addiction.
well, I was checking my phone briefly before. So like October 3rd, right before Gacy's wedding, essentially.
Yeah.
I did a 90 days no booze challenge for myself.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make sure, because I like to go out and have fun.
Sure.
I wanted to make sure that I could stop whenever I wanted to.
That's
And
important.
I was happy I was like successful. Like able
Yeah.
to do
So you
that.
just did 90 days and then leading up to the wedding, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't care, I can read what I wrote.
Oh yeah, please do.
I thought it summarized everything.
So
very well.
this is post challenge kind of thing, like and how the experience went for you.
Yeah, and I don't think people that are friends with me on Facebook don't know the story with my father.
Sure.
So I think like you and whoever's listening might understand a little bit more.
Yeah, and I definitely, once I put this out, I want to do everything I can to get as many ears on it as possible.
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk so much about it.
Yeah.
So this is what I wrote. Again, after I did, I wanted to make sure I wasn't like my father. So, as many of you know, and many more of you that don't know, I recently challenged myself to not drinking for a whole 90 days. The original plan was to simply do a 30-day sober detox, but for some bizarre reason, the duration of 90 days magically popped into my head. 30 days would suck, but 90? That was impossible. When I realized the difficulty of this self-inflicted task, it proceeded to infuriate me. Why couldn't I have enough self-control? How insecure must I be as a person that I failed my social reliance on it? These were all questions I needed to discover for myself in order to grow as a person. The combination of living downtown, my natural playful demeanor, and my rebellious tendency to not follow society's social norms made this goal of mine that much more of a Herculean task. Well, I'm happy to say I beat it. I won. The last 3 months I've accomplished more than I ever thought possible sober. I was able to have fun at open bars and various parties. I performed karaoke, did improv, I dated, and even danced. But as great as it was becoming more confident, it wasn't as important as proving to myself that I have self-control. Those familiar with my situation can only imagine the internal turmoil I feel towards my father. It in itself is a mixed drink of love, hate, and empathy. I often would have self-doubts and fear that I'd turn out similar to him. On more than one occasion, I've lost sleep trying to differentiate my own self-worth from his, and more often than not, I couldn't. This petrified me to no extent. This experience taught me that I don't carry the same demons that he does. An unbearable weight has been lifted off my shoulders, knowing that while I share some of his positive traits, I am in control and can avoid his detrimental ones. That I'm different, that I'm me. Thank you to all those that challenged me and supported me the last few months. Your words of encouragement meant the world to me, and I appreciate more than you ever know. as my 90 days comes to an end, a few of you have made comments similar to this, like, you probably won't ever drink again, right? Since you know you can have fun now and you don't need booze to have a good time. And while I can honestly say I completely agree, I'd also like to point out that you don't need a calculator to do math, but it definitely helps.
That's really good, man. I think that summed up in pretty nicely the challenge and why you did it and everything. And no, that's really awesome that you did that. I feel like that's something anybody would benefit from. Like if you think that you need to, you probably do. You know what I mean? If the thought as you're talking about it and going over that, like if the thought is crossing your mind that, hey, maybe I need to take a break, the answer is definitely yes.
That's a good vantage point.
The answer is definitely yes. If you're even thinking, do I need to take a break, then the answer is yes. You know what I mean? Start small. Do 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
90 days was like an interesting cutoff too, because like 30 days would suck.
Yeah.
But like 90 is like you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, 30
And so I would go to these wrestling shows and I'd be like by open bars and like fans would buy me drinks and it's all very nice and appreciated. But like, you know, I never did karaoke sober in my life. Like I just started doing improv theater in Lancaster and like
awesome.
All of them are doing shots beforehand and like I wouldn't do shots and like it's very no pun intended, like sobering emotionally.
Sure.
Putting your actual self there.
Yeah.
So it was just like I don't know who else needs to hear this, but I know like self-inflicting a challenge like that, I found 90 days to be the perfect amount. And I learned a lot about myself. I rediscovered myself, and more importantly, it put into perspective demons I don't share with my father.
Absolutely, man. And sometimes it can just like you said, it increases your productivity because you're like, well, normally I'm sitting here having 2 or 3 beers after work. I guess I'm gonna do all the house chores that I normally neglect, or I'll sit and write some jokes.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll sit and write some sketches for improv class. You know what I mean? Whereas that would have never happened because you would have been grabbing a beer, searching for whatever to watch on Netflix.
200%.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, and trust me, as you're saying it, this is all shit I need to do. I don't particularly think that I have a problem with anything, but I could give the fucking weed a break. You know what I mean? Like I go down these slippery slopes where it's just like, hey man, you're 37 and a dad. Like give it the fuck up. You know what I mean? Where I could do it, I just choose not to.
Sure.
But why not?
I do feel like that 90 days is such a perfect number of like making something not a necessity. Like if I had broken during that 90 days, I probably would have tried my best to never touch booze again because I wasn't able to make it 3 months. Sure. So like if I were you, I'd put something like that in Notion where like, man, like if you can't emotionally do without this vice for 90 days, fucking you need to throw that shit to the curb because that shit's always going to be in your life. Like,
yeah. And I think similarly with you, and I don't want to go on any tangents about me because these aren't about me, but I deal with some of the things that you've dealt with. Like my mom suffers from alcoholism, so I've dealt with a lot of that. My dad has never really been an addict of sorts, but more of a functioning addict in the sense that anything he's done, he's never let pull his life apart. You know what I mean? Or fuck his life up. He's never fucked his life up because of drinking or anything that he likes to do recreationally, you know? But I forget exactly where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Just basically the importance of not relying on vices.
Oh, I think just saying that, like, I come from addicts, so I have to be careful. Like, I think with me, I can't
wrestlers, like, like by default, we're all addicts. Like,
yeah, we're chasing something. We're chasing a dragon permanently.
No sane person wants to go through what we go through.
My brain just doesn't get any pleasure out of normal shit. Does that make sense? I get no fucking pleasure out of normal shit.
So one of the weirdest things, and I'm sure you can relate, is but like I'll go out with my friends outside of wrestling, and they'll be like, "Man, is this party crazy?" And you're like, "No, like you have no idea the level of crazy.
No,
you don't know. Like if you consider wrestling work, I've seen crazier shit at work at a show than at this party in the middle of nowhere where no cops are around and people are going wild.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck about this?
Your sense of normalcy gets so fucked up through wrestling. Like like
Yeah.
when it comes to like relationships and this and this. And again, like I went to Joe Gacy's wedding a few weeks ago, and his wife's like so perfect and awesome because it's such like it's so nice to see like a wrestler in a normal functioning relationship.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
and like they're great together, and I love
Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
and I love her, and it's just like fuck, like it is possible. Like,
Yeah.
like, I like very
Good luck to
envious.
you guys. Congratulations to Joe Gacy. Finally.
I told her I meant it. Like I'm very envious, and I think it's super cool how supportive she is of him because I've never had anything close to that in my entire life for anything I've attempted to accomplish.
Yeah, just about all my wrestling friends, it doesn't work out if they're dating a civilian. You know what I mean? And in a lot of cases, it didn't work out for that very reason. Like, you're on the road too much. I want to do more stuff and yada, yada, yada. And everything's about you. Well, that's what the fucking car you bought, bitch.
Like my one,
that's the car you bought.
My one ex went with me to like the CZW show I debuted at, and like didn't like congratulate me. Like she didn't want to do it since I was 16. Like she never asked me how her match went in the years that we dated.
Just was kind of toughing it out.
Yeah,
like,
I guess
clearly
like,
just toughing it out.
Like if she was into ballet, I'd be like, "How'd your ballet performance go?"
Yeah.
But
was she there for it? Did she go?
She maybe went to 3 matches in 3 years. I'm sure she didn't enjoy any of them.
Wow.
But not many people do enjoy Tim Donst matches. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen?
Fucking, she'd be the first.
No, that's
She
true.
did.
That's such an interesting point about like normacy. I think I read somewhere like Kevin Nash say a quote that they should say people that party hard don't party like rock stars and party like wrestlers.
Right. Yeah.
Because like he's been around both worlds, and
Dude,
he said
he's a
wrestlers are way
savage.
crazier.
Oh yeah, he's from that vein of guys that just fucking drink, just fucking drink. Like, where does it go? Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, fucking Jesus Christ. But goddamn, my brain is failing me right now. Like, what were we just? Oh, we're talking about the drinking and the partying and what's crazy and what's not.
Just how like different society is for us. Compared to wrestling, like I even noticed it's funny, like
even in regards to sales,
doing improv theater, it's funny because like
that's what I was gonna say.
You pick up on people like, oh, you trying to like outshine me right now? Like you trying to like cut me off? Like are you trying to get like the pop from me?
Are you cutting my heat?
Are
right
you?
now?
Yeah, dude, it's weird.
They do that.
100%. It's cool too because like wrestling really helps you on stage.
I'm getting big into that.
So
now.
you should. It's really fun. You should try to do some. You live close enough. You should do some.
I definitely want to. I guess it's hard to say, but like once I get to a place in my life where I feel a little bit more stable and have the time to commit to it, I'd like to try some stand up. I know I could do it. Like,
there was like some talks of them wanting to do like a wrestling oriented one.
Sure.
So I had this like fantasy where like me and like Nick Gage and like some other people like all right, Nick, in this scene you're a housewife and
that would be amazing.
And your dog's on fire. Go. Who's the fucking man? Get your fucking hands up.
Where's the dog?
Fucking man?
Where's the fucking?
Who's the fucking dog is this? You piece of shit.
Get the fire extinguisher, pussy.
MDK, where you at? Come here, MDK. Come here.
All day.
Come here. Yo, how often does my dog chase his chair? All day, motherfucker. All day. Who's the man?
Yeah, man. Fucking. Oh, yeah, that would be fun.
That would be fun. It would also be fun to get Smart Mark Video to film like a group of us in an escape room. That'd be fun.
Jesus Christ, that would be real good. But now, like you said, even in regards to just like once I got into wrestling and I realized the storytelling aspect of it and the selling, literally selling of it, like you realize that that's every aspect of life. Like
that's interesting.
Like literally, the person behind the counter at Burger King saying, "Hi, how are you?" doesn't actually care. They're just selling you the no, like they don't. No, they don't fucking care.
I like to think that people
they
care.
don't fucking Tim. The 50th customer, they don't care how the fuck the 120th customer of the day is doing. Okay, they're doing it because they're creating an experience for you at Burger King. Stop laughing. No, I'm serious. They're creating an experience at Burger King. They're selling you the whole experience from the top to the bottom, from the time you get your food and enjoy that, and you know what I mean? So I get back to the point. Wrestling just taught me that everything is sales. You know what I mean? Everything in life is sales. Not everyone is so disingenuous, but I'm saying from the time that every interaction you have, you're portraying some sort of relationship. Hey Tim, what's going on, man? How you making out today? I'm selling to you compassion and caring.
When I greeted you out the door, I thought you were legitimately happy to see me, you son of a bitch.
Well, that's because I'm a fucking good worker.
I'm
I'm a great goddamn worker, and you bought what I was selling.
Yeah.
No, but just wrestling, just like you said, it totally desensitized me to other situations.
It's weird too, because it's like, I think we got on this tangent because we were talking about addicts.
Yes,
and it is such
yes.
an adrenaline rush. Like when I didn't wrestle because of my kidney being removed, like, man, I couldn't fill that void. Like when I'm stressed, like the reason why I love professional wrestling is like, no matter what's going on, like with my relationships, with my bills, with work, with my dad, right? My dad was drinking himself to death. Maybe when I was in the car, to affect me a little bit, but like when I'm in that ring, your brain has no time to filter that information.
None.
I have no time to worry. I have no time to stress.
No.
It's what I can only think like somebody who's really big into meditation or yoga must feel like, because
Sure.
all I'm thinking about is this moment. I'm just thinking about ducking this clothesline, jumping this, landing safely here, protecting this guy here, putting on a good show. Like you get so enthralled with this moment.
Absolutely.
That nothing else in the world bothers you. And that's what was so addicting about professional wrestling to me.
100%.
So like when I was going without the kidney, like I didn't have that escapism for all the bullshit that hit me. But
no, and again with the addiction thing, and I think I got us off on that tangent or whatever. It's a slippery slope for me because I feel like I can't do anything a little bit. Like if you offered me a beer or something, I'll drink it, but the reality is I want 6 because like I want to get drunk. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm not somebody that's ever drank because I like it. I drink to get drunk. I smoke weed to shut my brain off. And unfortunately, if I buy a little bit of weed and then I run out, I'm gonna want to get more. Like, you know what I mean? I can't just do a little bit. It becomes a pattern for me. You know what I mean? So that's why I have to really tread lightly. I don't really drink anymore.
It's like we're always living
weed's my only thing.
It's like we're always living in extremes. Like
right.
When I die, like I don't fucking want to touch anything bad. I need to read all these health books. I need to go to the gym every day. I need to run 6 miles. Like when I get drunk, like you said, like I'm not gonna ever have a beer and a slice of pizza. Like that's not in me.
No, for
like,
what? Just so that that kind of makes me feel like shit. Like a beer, like 1 or 2 beers makes me just like want to take a nap.
Sleepy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like but a bunch will make me want to hang and do dumb shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I definitely don't want to take up too much more of your time.
Yeah, I'm sorry for keeping you.
No, dude. Like I said, I'm trying to accumulate some content here, man, and thank you for providing some really awesome stuff.
Thank you for starting off my weekend on such a high note.
Yeah, man. I have to
really
fucking work tomorrow, asshole. So I mean, enjoy not doing shit tomorrow. You know, while you're sitting here thinking about how awful your life is.
Yeah, right. I'm just holding back the tears. Like as soon as you leave, I'm just gonna fucking lose it.
Thanks for sharing about your dad. Thanks for sharing about the cancer. I really feel like a lot of people are going to listen to this and they're going to relate, whether they've dealt with it, whether they know somebody that has. And I think they're going to relate to you better. I think this is going to broaden your fan base a little bit, hopefully, and certainly your fans that you already have will become bigger fans. You know what I mean? Because you've opened the door for them a little bit to see into the mind and the heart of Tim Donst. And yeah, man, I can't thank you enough.
And if I can say one last thing,
as much as you want, and certainly if you want to share any of your Twitters and all that.
Yeah, feel free to contact me on T Donst on my Twitter if you feel inclined to. But yeah, like I hope between these 2 parters, I hope people get out that hopefully I'm a positive human being. If anything, maybe too much in my own head at times. But I hope that if you're going through stuff, I hope you can make it out of it. I hope people remain empathetic to other people, what they're going through, because I think if you put other people's lives into perspective, not speaking about myself, but other people I think about, hopefully your day gets a little bit better. And one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard is that comparison is the theft of joy.
I've heard that.
And
it's a good one.
Whenever times get really tough and I don't think about things I have or should have, I always think, no, like I was really happy until I just got selfish and jealous and upset because I didn't want that thing or because I saw this picture and I saw how happy they were and this and this and this. So comparisons is the theft of joy. And thank you guys for listening.
Word bird. And if I just want to add, after your very insightful, nice thing that you said, that after Kid Osborne gave me your cell phone number, and before I divulged that it was me texting you, I was going to call you, and I was going to put on a voice.
Fuck you.
You know what I was gonna do?
What you texted me as?
What did I say? That I was Tony Khan? No, it was gonna be Tim. It was gonna be much worse. Because I told my girlfriend.
You texted me that you were Tony Khan, and I said, fuck this gym, fuck you, fuck you.
You're
broke
cool.
up with this, broke up
Cool.
with this girl. Fucking
packed your shit. Told your landlord to eat
and
shit.
I'm like, all right, never mind. Yeah, I told my landlord to eat shit.
What I was really gonna do, because I knew you had a sense of humor, and I'm dark. I was gonna call you and pretend to be a doctor.
Jesus Christ!
Do you know where the story goes next?
I cannot wait for you to finish this.
I was gonna tell you I was an oncologist from some random hospital.
Yeah, you guys should see how red his face is right now. He can't even speak.
I was gonna tell you I was an oncologist.
Jesus
from
Christ.
some random hospital, and that your cancer was back. That's not funny at all. That's not funny at all. That's not funny at all.
What did you tell Kit this plan?
Yeah.
What did Kit say? He's like, oh, it's fucking great. I love it.
He said you probably shouldn't. He won't.
Oh my God.
He said I just laughed out loud in the supermarket. he probably won't think it's that funny.
Yo.
He probably won't think it's that funny.
Kid Osborne, like, for you, if you don't know, he hates the morning. Like, he loves sleeping in.
Yeah, it's because he stays up too late, you little shit ass.
Well, how else are you gonna get that good looking?
Yeah,
so, like, I
tanning.
was sharing a hotel room with him in Pittsburgh on our way to a wrestling show, and like, we had to like leave pretty early. And I'm a morning person, so I woke up early. I got him, like, I knew he was going to be a fucking bitch about it. So to make him feel guilty, like, he hadn't sent in his Virginia license yet.
Oh, right.
So, like, I went down to the office, like, in the Marriott Hotel, fucking filled out his information form, faxed it, printed it out for him.
You're a dear.
He didn't wake up in time for breakfast because he's a lazy fuck. So
What a shit.
I put the cream on the bagel, got in, and then I woke him up. I'm like, I called up our buddy Joe. I'm like, hey, this is Tim and Joe in the morning. You're listening to 105.8. Kid Osborne's on the phone, ladies and gentlemen. He's like, fuck you, fuck you. I hope your cancer comes back. You fucking die. He's like, dude, he said that to me.
Oh my
and then he's
God.
also like, he's like, I hope this hotel burns down so I never have to wake up again.
Oh my God.
There's all these like kids staying in the hotel for some
so
kind of
dark.
conference.
He's so dark.
He wanted everybody to die so he doesn't have to wake up again. And then he wished for my cancer to come back in hopes that I die.
See, like, I was just going to be kidding. He wants you to die. He wants you and innocent people and himself
I can't
to
believe
die.
you're about to call me and say that. That's some good shit.
And, like, here's the worst part about it. I was considering every detail because I wanted it to be convincing.
No, you didn't
Like,
research
I was like, I'll just say, like, Jefferson Hospital, and my name's Dr., fucking Pinderhughes, Dr. Duncan Pinderhughes, and I just
It sounds like a real name.
well, I got it from the movie Head of the Class. No, not Head of the Class. Class Act. With
Okay.
Kid, you remember who Kid and Play are?
Yeah,
The rappers
it
from
sounds
back in the
familiar.
day. The one had the real high hair.
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, Duncan Pinderhughes was the one guy's fucking name
I
in
would
the
have never
movie.
picked up on that.
And nobody would because I'm 100 years old. And
I
I'm like Ra's al Ghul.
Yes, I hope. I'm appreciative of the fact that both you and Kit know that I have this sense of humor.
Yes.
And I don't take myself too seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody listening should be offended or take any of this nonsense too seriously because, like, I survived. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm healthy. And I'd much rather laugh about it than cry about it.
Yeah, man, and that's what this is all about, folks. We're talking about the struggles, how we overcame them, and how you can too. And that being said, folks, we'll see you next time. All right, be good.
Bye-bye.